When dealing with a falsehood, you're faced with two options. You can accept it or you can reject it. The basis upon which we take one of these actions is a product of our critical thinking capabilities and a desire to know what is true instead of confirming our bias. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. On Brainstorm, we choose the hard truths over the comforting lies. Reason, compassion, skepticism. This is the Brainstorm Podcast.
All right. To those listening live or to our patrons, welcome back. To those listening weekly, welcome to the Brainstorm Rectable, the Brainstorm production where we spend some time discussing one topic or many, depending on the way the conversation flows. This is an open brainstorming session where I kick things off with some thoughts and we see where things go from there. I'm Cory, and my panel tonight are Lisa.
I made it.
Angela.
Oh, hi.
Sarah.
Hello.
And, of course, the always amazing Dave.
Hello there.
I wouldn't want to come after Angela either. Thanks for putting me before her.
I love how Dave just laughs after I introduce myself.
I love it.
And we're still in Roman Empire Studios in Regina, Saskatchewan, and today is October 12th, 2018. So the topic that I kind of had in mind for this one was, should we be civil with our political adversaries, the people that we disagree with? And what does that mean when we if we think that we should be?
Yes. Let's move on.
What does that mean?
Well, to be civil with our political adversaries? What does it mean? Lisa.
Well,
Go.
I think that, okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Don't pre-apologize.
No, I'm pre-apologizing. I need to.
Why?
Because you haven't heard the next part of the sentence. I'm sorry, but, comma,
That means she's not sorry.
as Sam Harris says, comma.
I get it now. I know why you...
Okay, no, but he does say this, and I think he's right. You're not going to disagree with this, Angela.
He's right sometimes.
All
I
we
wanna
have
hear the rest
as
of your point.
human beings to invoke change in this world is conversation or violence. That's what he says, and I think it's true. We can either talk to one another and try to convince one another and try to converge on something and try to direct things where they're going to be, or we can coerce one another either through the threat of violence or through actual violence. We can try to force things, and that's pretty much it. That's all we have. So I really feel like in our society, but that is coercion.
That's not violence.
Because I will do anything
coercion.
for you. That's
straight up
baking
coercion.
violence.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a bit of a false dichotomy.
Okay.
Because I do think...
Wait. There is no disagreeing with Sam Harris on this podcast, okay? Cory, I know it's your podcast, but I'm pretty sure we've established that rule many, many moons ago. Continue.
So as I was saying, I think...
Sam Harris is sexist.
I don't think violence or conversation are the only options, right? Like, I think boycotting is a thing that in a capitalist society we can use as a tool.
Is that
So
not
that's a form of
uncivil,
coercion.
though?
That would be a coercion.
It's coercion, but it's
Yeah.
not violence. And it's,
Right.
Sorry, I don't think he's actually. Sorry, I think he actually might have said conversation or coercion, but
Okay.
I don't think he's necessarily saying that there should be no violence or coercion. He's not saying that should never be used. But as the two options that are available,
Right.
that those are the two tools you have to
So
wield.
when one side refuses to acknowledge conversation, you're talking to a brick wall. What are you left with? You're left with coercion of some kind.
But look how the Obamas, like Barack Obama and also his wife, how they were when they had to give up power and they were doing the transition to the Trump presidency. They were, pillars of ethics and warmth, and they were preserving. I mean, you got to imagine how unhappy he has to be succeeded by Donald Trump, and
Yeah.
yet they were gracious, right? Like, and that's what you would want to be.
Because if you're not, then you just shoot yourself in the foot because it'll be used against you later, right?
I've
It'll
never-
be like they're all
yeah.
awful. They're name calling. They're doing all these bad things, and then now we're the bad guys.
There's never been a
Right,
circumstance in my life where I've been like, oh, I wish I'd acted like more of a dick.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I hadn't taken the high road.
Really? Never.
No,
Not
you
once?
wish you like stood up for yourself more, but you always are.
No, but
happier
standing
you
up
took
for
the
yourself
high road.
is not
Exactly.
taking the high road. That's not those aren't mutually exclusive. I can debate like somebody I oppose strenuously and respectfully. What's going on? Why
There's
are we
some
laughing?
funny chatting going on our Discord chat
He
room.
pooped in the past. What are we talking
Sam
about?
Harris. Somebody said Sam Harris is full of shit.
Oh. Sam Harris isn't totally always full of shit.
He pooped in the past 24 hours.
I don't know that. I keep tweeting him like, "Tell me about your bowel movements," and he won't because he's an asshole. Anyways,
But yeah, I think because what I think of is the people who harass, like Mitch McConnell at dinner at a restaurant. I'm fine with that. I think that that's fair game. Go after them in their personal lives. Make them pay an actual cost to the political actions that they take.
But there's a line there, right? Like death threat. Like I don't think it's
Right.
right that Kavanaugh's getting death threats, if that's even a thing. And they're claiming it is.
Right.
But whatever. But I
I'm
don't
sure
think
it's a
that's
thing.
right either.
okay.
But to say I think you did it and you were a total asshole on, that's perfectly fine. But nothing that borders into like straight up harassment and violence, threats, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm okay with people voicing their opinion and calling you an asshole at dinner. Yeah.
But to me, that's not the
100%.
question you posed. You posed, should we be civil to our political opponents? So I guess I was thinking more like politicians being civil to one another.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking of it like the public being civil to politicians.
Okay.
I actually, I think. I don't know.
think
I
that's a
think I'd be
it's
scared to
interesting
approach him no
question,
matter
though,
what
to
because I'm
discuss.
shy. But I would hope to approach him and discuss it, and not like slinging slurs or yelling at him, but just be like, I think you did a huge disservice to this country, and I think I don't have a problem with that, but I don't believe in treating other people disrespectfully, irrespective of their views or how they. I don't know. I just don't.
Or
Sorry.
throwing your water on them. Or
well, you don't have to
like-
be sorry. It's just
I'm really sorry, Cory.
Canadian.
Fucking
We're
sorry.
I think we have different opinions on this.
I think-
That's fine. I think I'm not one to actually hit Mitch McConnell, for example, though Lindsey Graham might be a different story. But
I just think
It'd be really hard to not kick him in
I
the
can't hit Mitch
It's so
McConnell
hard
because
to
I
not
always
kick
think
him in
of
the-
Jon Stewart's impression of him, and he does the yep kind of thing, and he equates him with a turtle. So it just that's kind of in the back of my mind when I see anything.
Oh,
that
the
Mitch
what's it?
McConnell-
Oh, yeah.
It's so
Jon Stewart did the best, Mitch McConnell.
He did.
Yeah.
or what about there was a Democratic senator, I think, who basically she stood up and said, like, we need to go after these people, and we need to make it hard for them to go out for dinner, or like to walk down the street without being harassed, or like.
Well, see, to me, like
Chase
I
them
don't.
into the
I don't
elevator.
agree with like harassment, but I would be fine with somebody going up and be like Lisa said, like you did a disservice, but to be like you're an asshole, blah, blah, just chasing people down the street to harass them.
Yeah.
But encountering them in the street and making your opinion heard is a different thing in my mind.
Because they are a public figure, and they
Right.
have
100%.
An electorate, and they are responsible to them. And so
And they're
I don't
supposed
have
to
a
be
problem
listening
with
to them.
that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm a Canadian, so if I saw somebody, even a politician I disagree with, out for dinner with his wife or something, I would actually probably respect that they're having a moment or
Yeah.
whatever. And honestly, I probably wouldn't interrupt them. I honestly probably, because I don't think it would have an
Wouldn't
impact. I don't
refuse
think
to
Mitch
serve Sarah Huckabee Sanders in a restaurant.
if I was a waiter.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
It depends
No.
on the level of your oppression, though, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
like what if I'm Colton Boushey's mom?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And I, and I see the justice minister having dinner.
You definitely got.
Yeah.
I got every fucking right
I can
to go
see
up there
that.
and
I
be
can
But
see
you've
that.
got a personal beef
yeah, I can
at
see
that
that.
point, right?
But it's also political at the same time, right? It's
Right.
not, it's not just personal.
No, yeah, but
Because that person is a figurehead
for,
of what
Yeah.
happened.
what's stopping you from
I'll
being
tell you what,
happy.
if Pinochet lived in my city and he's still alive, and I saw him, I'd probably murder him. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
gonna pretend. Like,
Okay, so
That might be a slightly different. Oh, well, I mean, it depends what you judge.
It's
how
a-
you judge.
no,
their
okay, so
actions,
if it
right?
was
Like,
Sarah Huckabee, if I was a waiter and it was Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I mean, to me, she's doing her job. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't agree
I
with
feel
her.
sorry
I would
for
serve her.
her more
If it
than
was
that.
Vladimir Putin, fuck no.
that's right. There's
Right, that's a
certain levels.
different. Like
There's
he's
levels.
a literal killer. Like,
and don't shoot the messenger.
Like,
and
no.
I would hate to have her job. So
No.
fine.
Oh, she's awful.
You could
She's
definitely-
yeah.
She's no, but
But-
You
she's,
could criticize her
I-
for going along with it though. Like, you
Yeah,
could definitely
I
do that.
I think so.
I think she's drunk the Kool-Aid, man. Like she's not. Her hands are not clean in this.
But I think
But
it
she's
goes
not
back to
making
what we were talking
decisions.
about before about the confirmation bias, and you just swallow. Okay, this is my fucking job. I'm gonna do my fucking job today. I'm just gonna like when Lois on the Family Guy is talking about like how annoying Peter is. And she's just like, oh, Peter. Meanwhile, like in her brain, there's a little lump that
tumor.
says, I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor. Like she's just like putting it all away into a tumor because she's just like putting up with Peter's shenanigans. And I think that that's what some of those people do. Not that that's excusing what they do.
Angela, that's not how cancer works.
Wait, it's not? It's not. I think the thing that frustrates me the most about the political adversaries, etc., I watched an interaction between our provincial NDP leader and the premier of our province about the climate change report that came out. And there was some cherry picking that was happening on the part of our premier, and the way that the NDP leader handled the response to that. And this is just shithole Twitter stuff. It just seems really cheap and really immature to do that, to name call on Twitter, and to just it frustrates me how pervasive it is that people just call each other names and play the blame game, and we're not actually having a conversation about the issues. It just seems like what I see on social media and in the news is that it's just back and forth. It's just back and forth name calling. Well, you did this, you did that, and it's just a blame game. It's not. It has nothing to do with actual issues.
Yeah, you're not making your point at that time. You're just trying to cut someone down in the hopes that maybe other people will side with you because you cut them down better. You're
It's not a fucking roast battle.
As a voter, I don't find that appealing.
Me neither.
No.
I find politicians with a lot of dignity appealing.
Yeah,
like I find
and a well-reasoned argument and well-spoken to be able to like you. There's nothing I love more than like an intellectual teardown if somebody's just like, actually, you're wrong because of point.
You know who does that well?
ABC.
Elizabeth May does that well. Okay, like she's an example of somebody else. You know, she disagrees vehemently, frequently with many of her political colleagues.
She has no choice.
I mean, this is the position she has.
Yeah,
but she argues so eloquently, but she's always respectful, and she's not. I don't know, or typically is. I mean, I'm sure she's not perfect, but like.
Yeah.
It's just
she has her issues as well, but I think generally she's been.
I really
pretty,
admire that woman.
She's and that's that. It really sucks that Jack Layton had to die because I really think that he was incredibly articulate, and I think that he stayed on topic the most, and he was less likely to resort to name calling and stuff. And
Can
I think
say something.
Well,
I don't fucking like Jack Layton. I'm sorry he died. I don't want him to die. But as a politician, I found him very robotic. I didn't find him inspiring whatsoever. And it's not that I did not want him to die, okay? But I didn't find him. I wasn't feeling it.
You were more into the Harbor helmet hair.
Well, no, like, and I feel like he did a shit job, like counteracting Harper. Honestly, I mean,
and the tiny leather vest. And
there was a way that Jack Layton held his hands in commercials. It was just so fucking awkward.
You're making
I can't.
That's funny. I met him actually.
I'm
Jack
sure he was a
Layton?
nice person.
Well,
I'm sure
he's nice enough, but I get what you're saying. He's a little bit disingenuous. He's a little bit like politician.
politician.
He's politician-y, whatever. You know.
Well, and I
hard
think
to like
the other tragedy is with the exception of a few people is that the people that should become politicians don't become politicians,
Is it shitty? Like me, I'm like the fucking best, but I'd never do that shit.
right? Right? Ugh.
But like, why not? Because like, isn't it patriotic to do it even though it's shitty? If it's the right thing
Well, I
to
think
do? Are we all
there's
just
people
lazy
like
then? Is
the
that-
people. I don't think we're all lazy.
No,
I
I'm
just think
saying I'm lazy. So I'm wondering if
I
the
just
rest
don't
of us
think that
are
I
as
have
well.
the
Stomach for it.
gastrointestinal fortitude to
Yeah.
go into politics because of the way it is, because of
Yes.
the shit throwing game that it is.
But
I
it's
don't.
never going to change unless people like that
Yeah,
do go into it, right?
like I've seriously considered going into municipal like civic politics.
Yeah.
because there's no party affiliation here. It's just individual, independent
Yeah.
stuff. And that's like a lot of people argue that that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where your dollars are most, like your tax money.
And a lot of municipalities have been able to make really big impacts and could do really cool things because they're so
Yes.
much smaller and they have that kind of flexibility, that maneuverability.
And then they can also build bridges that fall down within 6 hours of their being opened. And then they can
that's not what we want.
no, there's an argument that we should.
Angela, that's bad.
Oh, wait,
do that.
okay. Yeah.
Let me woman explain this shit to you.
Fuck. but like civic politics, I think is important, but it's kind of a different ball game, I think, than provincial and federal politics specifically.
You can be way more dynamic in a civic arena
Definitely.
than you can in federal,
Yeah.
provincial.
Yeah.
Too many
I think it's
party whips.
exhausting because you put yourself in front as a figurehead, as a representative, and I think it can be really tiring. And there's special interest groups that try to influence your decisions and stuff and buy you a fancy dinner.
And some people might think it's perfectly okay to come up to you when you go out for dinner with your
Yeah.
spouse and yell at you.
Yeah.
That's right.
And criticize
Yeah.
the
Maybe you
teen
shouldn't build
burger that I
bridges that
got.
suck.
Yeah. You manage your fucking money better.
Or vote to put in, attempted rapists in the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
There are
And
consequences for
I don't
this.
know.
Yeah, you
like-
have to answer for that. Your decisions as a politician.
It's
I think,
and that's the tricky thing too is like as liberals it seems like there's more factions amongst left-leaning people, whereas among the right-leaning people it seems like there's more of a united front.
Yeah. They
And-
fall in line more.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just vote along party lines more effectively than liberal people do. And
Dan was supposed to be here, but
Dan?
he could not make it.
we all have a call. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Dan. We appreciate it. I think
You suck, Dan.
if I was a politician, I'd
I don't
spend a
actually
lot
care
of
a
time
second.
listening, and I'd spend a lot of time like talking to people, and getting a sense of what. Because I think when you resort to approaching a public figure, elected or whatever, in public when they're having supper, it's a symptom of not feeling heard and not feeling
yeah.
validated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the person who didn't serve Sarah Huckabee Sanders and the people that are going up to these people in restaurants, they don't feel heard. And I think that's kind of it's a stressful part of being a politician, I think. And I think it's a necessary part of being a politician. It's not so much shaking hands and kissing babies, but it's also just actually having a conversation
Yeah.
with people and listening to what the concerns of
Too
the people
much,
that you represent are.
Too much fundraising, not enough listening to constituents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you really hit on the nail on the head there. People are feeling that they're not heard. The other thing I was feeling as we're again, going back to the whole Brett Kavanaugh thing is I felt like there's like crazy making going on where
Yeah.
it's like, it is so clear to any rational human, like forget forget party politics, forget if you're left or right leaning. I mean, what you were thinking, like, you cannot watch what went on there and reasonably conclude that he never assaulted her. Like, there's no universe in which it's just not the most anywhere close to the most plausible explanation for what we saw. This woman, you could tell she was scared. You could tell she wasn't looking for limelight. There's no reason she would want to upend her life this way. So she had no motivation to do this. She was very compelling. Yeah. And the guy had a very good reason to get belligerent about it. And he even forget, let's say you don't care about sexual assault. Let's say that's not important.
Right.
He straight up lied. Devil's
things.
Triangle is a fucking drinking game. Like, it is I mean, okay, it's funny, but it's a fucking lie. And he was rude and belligerent again, talking about not being civil, but to the senators who were questioning him. Like, I mean, it.
Yeah, in a hearing.
So
right?
there's no. So there is no. Like, there is no a reasonable person cannot watch that and conclude, oh, that's a great person to give a job for life to.
Right.
On the Supreme Court.
And so to have like a whole political party and then all their supporters turn around saying, no, he's great. It's crazy making. It's because in the sense that they're telling you that reality that's so fucking clear is not reality.
Right.
And that drives me batshit. I think it drives a lot of people batshit. It's like, it goes back to you it feels like I'm not being heard because it's like, no, the fucking sky is blue. Like, I don't even understand. Like, how
are you not all seeing the same thing?
Like,
how are you not seeing this? Yeah.
I watched a documentary this week called Reversing Roe. It's on Netflix for those of you that are so inclined. It's about reversing Roe versus Wade, which is what the Republicans would love to be able to do.
Right.
And it was very interesting to me to learn that, number one, the Republican Party wasn't always 100% pro-life. That wasn't a party directive. Some people were pro-choice. Some people were pro-life. It was Jerry Falwell's fault.
Right.
I almost said fart. But
it was his fart.
It was fart, too.
what is this?
What is what?
Falwell's
Jerry Falwell's fault.
What is this?
That abortion became a political issue because
the rise of the
realized that the evangelical
he could get them.
He could get the evangelical vote by bringing the abortion issue to the table. And it was an emotional issue. And the thing that offends me, but also it kind of helped me to realize by offending me, was that it was an emotional issue to win an election. It had nothing to do with actually, like, let's work this issue out. It's just so the Republican Party could win.
Okay, so the evangelicals are so, I don't know, what's the word? When you, God damn it, stupid words that won't come to my brain.
Right?
But they're so easy to mobilize. They're so easy to. You get under their skin, you get an issue they care about, and they will all mobilize and vote.
Yeah.
But if you do polls, say, for example, the American people, most people support that there should be abortion, access to abortion, because most humans know that people get pregnant when they don't want to be, and they want the ability to end this if they want to. I think this is for men and women. Like, I think it's generally, it's like a huge majority. It's not like almost 51-49. Like, it's a huge majority. Why can't normal humans mobilize around this?
Because it's like you don't have that same like cult mentality.
But in the moment when you need the fucking abortion, you'd think that you would hedge your bets this way and just head out and vote.
It honestly only disparages people of low income.
Why? You can't because if rich people can access abortions more easily, or what?
Of course they can.
Yeah, because you can try.
Because the way that the American
pay for it,
public has, or the American government has been able to minimize access to abortion is they've just been closing abortion clinics.
Yeah.
So if you can afford to drive farther, pay more,
or fly to a different country,
24-hour waiting period, or 48 or 7 days, or whatever.
Fly to a
bullshit
different
they come up
country.
with.
Jesus Christ! Like,
shouldn't
have to do that to get a fucking abortion.
That's
but I mean, like, we're not.
Sorry.
Yeah, the like normal people aren't mobilized because you don't have that fear that the world is going to end or like the whole world's going to hell unless we do this.
Well, that's how you feel when the baby's born. Let me tell you. I mean, you might as well.
It's scary. It's scary as shit.
But they believe they have a higher calling to save all of humanity, and so it's 100%. And they have people in pulpits that they listen to on a weekly or more basis.
Was featured in that documentary as well, and he was one of the vehicles of the pro-life movement.
Did anyone see that John Oliver piece on pregnancy clinics or the ones where
pregnancy
we have
health
them here
centers
too.
or
We have them here too. I know I've seen them.
And he started the women's health bus. Called
But basically, it's information about. So it's just crazy to me because it's oftentimes women running these clinics / buses to convince pregnant people not to have abortion, and they'll lie to them straight up like, oh, you can wait later, you can have an abortion when you're 38 weeks pregnant. Like just straight up lie to them, just whatever they can do, and then and intentionally knowing that they don't help these women once the baby's born at all. They want diapers, go fuck themselves. What are we, a charity? And really, this is like they have like what?
And that's why a lot of people are calling it a forced birth.
Pro-birth, not pro-life.
Because they don't give a shit about the kid's life.
Life after,
Or all they care about is that you can't kill the baby while it's in utero. Yeah. That's all.
If it dies of malnutrition and starvation afterwards, whatever's not my problem.
Exactly.
But it'll go to heaven then.
Yeah.
Because it's been baptized and it's fine, right?
That's right.
If you kill it before, then so that's all they care. They don't care about the actual human being. They care about the soul count in their imaginary hellscape or heaven.
Precisely.
Right? So if you truly believe that, you will lie, cheat, steal, do whatever you can to prevent that horrible, horrible, awful thing like ending a pregnancy with everything you have. Yeah. But
And that's the thing that frustrates me about the political adversary thing. Like, it just seems like they're not willing to understand, like, that I have to, as an evangelical, have control over what you do with your body. They're so adamant about, well, how dare you tell me where I can and cannot pray, and where I can and cannot have the 10 Commandments, or have a cross, or say the Lord's Prayer, but I have control over whether you terminate a pregnancy. It's
because it's sanctioned by God, right? Like, they're doing the right thing. I have the right to do the right thing.
And they think that Christians are the most oppressed of religions out there. But it's
except for all the other ones, that's actually true.
Except for all,
that's right.
Yeah. But and it's just, I think we still need to be civil with our political adversaries. I think we still do.
Bringing it full circle, Angela.
And I'm trying to.
There we go. Nice.
I think it's really important, in spite of the fact that these issues can be very emotional. I think it's important, and that's one thing I have to agree with Sam Harris on.
I was so confused there for a second.
But we have conversation
really
is important.
Right now.
Yeah. Conversation is important, and we, just as much as it's important to speak, it's important to listen. It's important to listen to, as much as we don't want to listen to the people we don't agree with. I think it's really important because there's shared values, whether we think so or not. We want what's best for our family. We want our family, our loved ones, to thrive. We don't want to suffer.
Yeah.
And that's like, we have to start somewhere, and start with those little tiny blocks of what we can agree on and go from there.
I wonder though, like, I kind of, like I was saying before, like, when you're the only side doing that though, what are your options?
I think that's...
You got to be the bigger person, dude.
Yeah, you can't
Except then you lose 100% of the time.
Not necessarily. Do you really think yelling at Mitch McConnell while he has lunch or whatever supper with his wife is going to change anything? No.
I think it's
But
just
being
going to
civil
prove
hasn't
their
done anything
point.
either.
No,
Like,
but being uncivil just fuels their hate fire more because they'll post viral videos of the same thing,
Okay.
but saying, "Look at this person harassed."
Here's the problem. Here's the problem.
So, like, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
The supporters of Donald Trump may not care about the truth, but supporters of people who oppose Donald Trump sure as fuck do. So, and the people who support Donald Trump don't care about acting ethically, but supporters who oppose him sure as fuck do. And so if you got to a point where you had an opponent who was acting as despicably as Donald Trump or members of the Republican Party, I wouldn't fucking support them anymore. I don't care what their stance is on abortion. Like, one reason I always had so much respect for Barack Obama is what he always seemed to be a pillar of ethics and what I would hope, embodying what I would hope a world leader would be.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't just be, well, I have to throw all that out because I need to I need to get down and dirty because that my opponents are like that. No, because now I just don't like either of you.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
But the thing is, nobody. Then that's what got us here, though. Like, that's why Donald Trump is the president and the right is in control of the Supreme Court.
Is that why, or is it because everybody else got complacent and didn't get out and vote?
It's because everybody. It's essentially.
It's not because we weren't being meaner to people.
Well,
I don't think.
I think it partly was
Really?
not being
Interesting.
confrontational enough is what I would say.
Maybe not being honest enough. I know people. I mean, what got us Donald Trump was that in my opinion, people looked at, they only had two options. They didn't like either of them, and they just kind of went with the one they didn't like less. And I think people found, a lot of people voted for Trump because they found him honest, which is ironic because he's a huge liar.
Ironic, yeah.
But they found him
He
honest
told it
in
like
the
it
way
is.
that, he'll say any shit and whatever, and he doesn't care who you are, right?
He's an outsider,
Whereas Hillary
yeah.
Clinton is so freaking contrived and so much media training, and so and she's.
Yeah.
I mean, for whatever reason that may be, but I'm just the candidate they put against him was really the worst possible candidate to defeat him.
Well, but
And her politics wouldn't have necessarily been that much different from his.
Well,
She I don't think that.
I think
I think you're wrong.
I think that they
Sorry.
would have been far enough.
I
that it would have
respectfully
been-
disagree, Angela. But I can also say, I think, so forgetting Hillary Clinton, you also
Not
have
much.
that
It would have been
people
different, but not that much different.
people were feeling that they weren't being heard, right? And especially in
Yeah.
these swing states. He only won by 70,000 votes in 3 states, right? So those people were not feeling heard. And they
Right.
felt somehow Donald Trump drilled in on that.
Well, and he was an outsider. He wasn't a politician. Politicians don't listen, but this guy will.
It has
'cause
nothing
he's
to
not
do with
a-
Democrats not
Yeah.
fighting dirty enough.
Can I point out one thing about what Hillary Clinton did that actually kind of gives us some evidence?
What's that?
That maybe confrontational stuff doesn't work. Is like first of all, her comment about the deplorables lost her a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
actually,
Because her supporters care about that shit.
the other thing that she lost on was when she was smug in debates. And then personally, I don't like this isn't me, but this is just like a lot of people commented on like when she would just sit there and laugh at people who were saying certain things. Like her smugness kind of lost her some points too. So there might be some evidence to suggest that actually, like maybe acting like that didn't help her. It didn't. Like that's not that she didn't act that way enough. She actually acted that way too much.
Well, but like
If that
Donald
makes sense.
Trump did.
Trump did the
too.
same thing?
But
Well, he did,
but he's
his,
a guy.
His voter base is different, though.
Yeah, his voter, and
They
he's
want something
he's a
different.
guy. You can't be a bitch if you're a woman. You can't
Well, that's just it,
tell
right?
it like
Yeah,
it
I think
is
so,
if you're
yeah.
a woman too, right?
played a big
Especially if
role,
you
eh?
want to be a president.
Like it's
right?
unfortunate.
Heaven forbid.
It's unfortunate that that's the case, but I do think that hurt her. I don't think that helped her.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But see, but hearing people confront Jeff Flake at the elevator before they vote for
Yeah, I remember that.
That was a bit different.
Kavanaugh.
Did they call him names, or did they say
they
this
called
would
him a
have to be?
coward.
How
And
did
they,
you?
they attacked his character, and they confronted him in a very honest and very what the right classified as aggressive way.
Yeah.
Certainly assertive.
Right.
See, I was thinking that was exactly. I think that particular confrontation was caught on video, and it's been broadcast widely since then. I think is really detrimental to the left, actually,
Yeah.
because what happens is he said something really rude, something to the effect of, come back and talk to me when you've grown up or something. And he said this to adult women.
that was
wasn't
Orrin Hatch.
Fleck.
That's
Oh, that was
Orrin
a different
Hatch.
one. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of a different one.
Yeah.
But that particular confrontation, I think, did a disservice to the opposing, to whatever, our side, or to the side opposing Kavanaugh's appointment, because they freaked out. They were like, how can you? And all you could hear was screaming and freaking out, and
They were too shrill?
And I
Hysterical,
totally get
perhaps?
why they did that. Like one could easily get extremely emotional doing that.
I've been
but I
so
think
shrill
it doesn't
and hysterical
help.
this whole
It doesn't help your case when you lose your shit, especially when you're a woman.
Especially if you're a woman. You
but,
can't.
But it doesn't help because you have to be the bigger person. You have to have more dignity. So there, you
have
it's
to have
the
a
only
penis.
way.
Yeah, and I think
Not necessarily, but I really do. Like,
It
look at somebody
helps,
like
though.
Elizabeth Warren, right? Look how fucking cool she stayed when the whole, and yet she persisted thinking like she never, I mean, and she is vocal and she is assertive and she doesn't back down, but she never comes across as being belligerent or not being civil. You can still be civil and have a very strong disagreement with somebody.
Yeah. And I think
I love that woman. I'm sorry.
As women,
think
we
she's cool, too.
all grew up to know we get farther if we play the game right, if we say our piece in the right way, if we're too shrill, if we're too hysterical, if we're too emotional about it, then it's gone. So from that perspective, when I see people attacking people, I know how the majority of people are going to take it as they're going to write you off. Oh, you're ridiculous, you're shrill. Now, even if it's a guy doing because it's a man who's on the left and you disagree with and already think they're idiots, right? So it's like, oh well, look at he's flying off the rails. He's being absolutely ridiculous. So I'm going to completely dismiss everything he said because he's acting in that manner. They're completely blind to the fact that they act like that too, but it doesn't help our case, and it makes people on the left think less of our cause in some ways.
See,
if you're of
I've seen almost the opposite effect though. Like I've actually seen the increase in
there's
support
two different factions,
for the
right?
far left because of the vocality.
Because I think you're more likely to support somebody being shrill on your side.
Yes.
Than you are if somebody's opposing you.
Right.
Then you're going to be less supportive.
It's not helping the other side see your point.
Yeah.
At all.
Do you think people's minds have been changed from the whole Kavanaugh thing? Have people changed sides? I don't think. No. I feel like people have become more.
I think
entrenched.
it's only confirmed
that's sort of
what they already
100%.
think.
Yeah,
that's my perspective. But I don't know.
I haven't. Yeah, from all of the billions of comments I've made and seen on various posts of that whole thing, I haven't seen anybody say, "Yeah, you're right. I think, maybe we do need to believe women in some cases, and it's not innocent till proven guilty. It's black or white."
You're not getting anybody to switch sides. But what you do get when you have an issue like the Kavanaugh hearings, you do get middle of the ground people or people who were on your side already but don't act. You get them to act. When things are really tough, then more people are motivated.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that we're seeing some of that.
Okay.
Right now.
But I think you can be motivating without being abusive or harassing the other side, without taking the low ground. Right?
I think that's
Like I said, going up to somebody and saying, "I disagree with this, and this is my life and my family, and this is how your decisions have impacted my life and my family.
Yeah.
I want you to hear my story in a perfectly calm, reasonable voice." Da 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 da. But also, you're still doing something, and that can still get out there and go viral and rile up support on your side. And it doesn't give the other side the ability to say, "Oh, well, they're just being ridiculous. Look at this crazy leftist attacking this person while they're trying to eat dinner." Mm-hmm. The worst they can say is they interrupted their dinner to talk to them civilly about something, and that upsets me because they have a right to eat in peace. But they can't use all of that. They're terrible, they're awful, they're harassing, all of that kind of thing. You take that power away from them.
I think sometimes as also, instead of confronting someone you disagree with and trying to change their mind and saying, "You're wrong because," I mean, it's been proven scientifically that we're more likely to discount those statements than we are if somebody is just going to ask us questions. And if we're forced to consider, oh, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I haven't thought this through enough. And for myself, I get really defensive if people are like, you're fucking wrong. You're fucking wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. I'm more likely to actually think about the other side of an issue if someone is like, well, have you considered this? Yeah. Have you considered this? And by being thoughtful about having a conversation with people, I think it's just as important to ask questions as it is to just spout what you need to spout.
Yeah.
Because yeah, we do need to be heard, but I think sometimes we have to fight that urge to just say what we need to say and just ask those questions. Because I find that I'm less confrontational, less shrill when I'm asking people that I disagree with about stuff. I'm way more interested in Dan. I do love you.
You know, there is really a spectrum here. I think maybe that's something to acknowledge. It's like I bring up this point often about the righteous indignation because it was drilled into us in social work in our faculty that in fact that righteous indignation is like necessary for social change, mainly because the communities that aren't being listened to will never be listened to through civility. That was kind of the concept, right? So, but I don't think that that's necessarily applicable to everybody in every situation. I think that's applicable to, like we're talking about extremely oppressed populations, right? Mm-hmm. So like, Rosa Parks shouldn't move to the back of the bus, like things like that, like where it's like you actually do have to be coercive, you have to be forceful.
No. Righteous indignation is civil. Civil disobedience is civil.
Not all the time. Not all the time.
Okay, but it can be. It can be. I have.
Yeah, I don't think Rosa Parks not moving was uncivil.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think she had incredible dignity.
But it's civil in terms of it's not outright violent, but it's forceful. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. It's not a polite discussion. It's I'm taking this. It's mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What about the idea that the dominant or the group that has the most power determines what is civil and what isn't? When Rosa Parks didn't move to the back of the bus, they called her uncivil. She was breaking the rules. Mm-hmm. She was a troublemaker.
When the First Nations people were camped at legislature, they were being uncivil. They were breaking rules. They should be arrested.
They were ruining the grass.
They were ruining the grass. But that was actually, even though it was like, I get what you're saying, it's a civil protest. Ultimately, it's them breaking rules, breaking laws to be heard, to be seen, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't always necessarily mean violence, but sometimes it does actually mean violence, and sometimes it will get violent.
Yeah.
Like Rodney King.
Right.
There was Rodney King beating. There was huge riots.
Yeah.
Huge riots. And had those riots not happened, I don't think there would have been some of the changes that came out of that. So, I mean, I'm not advocating for everybody to get violent, but there are spectrums, I'm saying, of times when maybe it is necessary.
Yeah, like, I mean, if they're going to legitimately just overturn and trash Roe v. Wade, I think like that, because that's going to cause actual pain and suffering and death.
If thousands of women are in the street being aggressive, go for it. I think that needs to happen.
But just there's like exactly time and a place. But me to just say to a politician, I'm not going to walk up to a politician and slap him across the face and throw my drink in his face to prove my point, because it won't prove my point. But when you have something monumental that is going to cause active harm to a group of people, I think they do need to rise up in some fashion, ideally as nonviolent as possible, but as you say, forceful, and be a presence and not be shut up and turned away.
There comes a time when you have to do that.
Yeah, you have to stand
and also
up,
holding our elected officials accountable in that, holding their feet to the fire. Okay, you made a decision. You supported the reversal of Roe v. Wade. And why did you do that? And asking them why, and getting them to explain. Okay, well, why? And getting them to, because sometimes they just don't. It just seems like it's so robotic, and they're just up in their ivory towers, not necessarily connecting with their voters, or only connecting with the people that support their opinion. So they're just living in a bubble.
Yeah.
Having this discussion, I would say where I draw the line is in treating I don't want to, and I don't agree with treating other people without dignity. Like, I can protest vehemently. Yeah, that's fine.
Because you're protesting a decision or a
and
concept,
that's, you know,
but you're not attacking the person. Yeah.
Have to, I balk at not treating other people with some form of dignity.
But could you be pushed to that point based on what's happening to you? That's the question.
Of course, as a human, I can get emotional and do things, but I would later regret it. Like, that's not what I want.
I wouldn't feel good about it.
If you're in a political situation where somebody's threatening your son or somebody's threatening your livelihood, do you think that is a time for you to cross that line?
Of course, but I don't think that I'm if somebody were to physically threaten my son and I were to defend him, that's not me infringing on their rights or their dignity as a human being. That's, you know, defending.
But for example,
self-defense.
But that's my point, though. That I think there is a line that has to be crossed at some point. Like, you can't always. I don't know. Like, I
feel like there are ways in which laws can have the same effect as physically attacking a person.
But is your response to that to physically attack that person because they made a bad law? Like, does that actually solve the bad law?
Maybe it could cause people to rally behind you. Maybe it could, like, it's hard to know the effects of these things, but I mean, I think we had a good discussion about this, and I think it's time for a quick break.
We'll just cancel the rest of the show. This is going to be
we'll just be here for a while.
It's a really fun discussion. It's a really interesting discussion.
It's hard to I think it's hard for everybody to have the same opinion. I mean, different people view civility in different ways, and everybody's got a different line on where they will go
on a comfort level.
I've had a father thrown in a concentration camp, so it kind of changes my view a little bit on like what we do politically. Because I mean, that is the reality of the world. Is that's where it can go if you don't stand up, unfortunately. So
absolutely.
So that's my final point.
All right,
let's break it up.
All right, we're going to break.
We're going to a break.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, perfect.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/brainstorm podcast gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
I'm Carly Sturgis, the host of the Token Skeptic podcast. Since 2006, I've been interviewing people from around the world. Scientists, comedians, artists and activists. And some of them you might even recognise.
The powers of the placebo are so strong that maybe it's wrong of us to mock.
And we happened to be in London around the time because we were shooting for the war and everything, and we basically made our own little sign, entreating the London commuters to bow down to the Dark Lord Satan, just to try and even out.
Some of them you might like to get to know better after hearing them on the show.
Reading into it, for years I've been interested in the concept of science philosophy and how pseudoscience works. And
it's then very easy for people to just, throw us away and say, well, you don't have a heart, or you're closed-minded, or, and so...
And the origin of the universe and the meaning of life and that kind of thing, because...
it's very real-life music, a lot of real experiences, a lot of vulnerable topics, but at the same time some very silly things. Like one song is actually about Windows Vista.
I'm wondering how I can finish this off now.
Let's break something.
Let's break something. What the hell?
Well, we'll finish it off kind of like Good News Week does.
The Token Skeptic podcast is a fortnightly online interview show that takes a slightly more skeptical look at the world around us. Head to tokenskeptic.org.
All right, outro music.
Didn't have it. I didn't
There
have
we
it queued
go.
up enough.
Dave's asleep at the wheel.
I was chatting over here in the chat room.
Oh, yeah. Okay. For all the things, you can check out the show notes at our website, brainstormblog.net, and our hosting page, thebrainstormpodcast.com. Thanks to our financial supporters, Kayla, Janet, Kim, Stephanie, Zach, the Utah Outcasts, Will, Aaron, Daryl, Destin Sucks, Bob Glenn, Destin Doesn't Suck That Much, Magnus, several species of small furry animals gathered together in a cave, Positively Skeptical, Rob, Keith, the Podunk Polymath, Larry, the Flying Spaghetti Monster, Saspi upon him, and Freethinker 215. If you want to join them and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. Or go buy some stuff at tpublic.com/stores/brainstorm-podcast-gear. We're on every 2 weeks on brainstormradio.net. Our next live show is October 26th, and our guest is Jillian Scudder.
Oh, Jillian!
Astrophysicist and now author.
And former office mate of me.
There you go.
Oh, wow. Like in studio or no?
No, like we went to grad school together and we sat behind each other slaving away.
No, I mean, like, is she going to be here in studio?
No, she's in, like, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
so it'll be a long distance interview.
She's smart. She writes books and she writes articles for Forbes.
Yeah. I want to give a big thanks to Kevin for joining us. You can find more of his stuff at kevinandbenedict.com. I'd like to thank my panel, Lisa, Angela, Sarah, and Dave.
You're welcome.
You're welcome for talking exactly the right amount.
Yes, that's right. I also want to thank Dave for our intro music. Thanks to Aaron Rabbi from the Embrace the Void podcast for doing the voiceover for our intro. You can find his stuff at voidpod.com. Thanks to Alex Kepper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for our ads, and thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our subreddit, sign up for our newsletter, share the show, and spread the word. The more you share, comment, and like our stuff, the more it helps the show grow. Thanks for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.